What's going on, Sooner Nation? Hey, after the week Oklahoma had last week with just bad news after bad news after bad news, the Oklahoma Sooners could have good news coming up here in the month of July, where I think you could see Oklahoma go on a pretty good run of potential commitments incoming. But the Oklahoma Sooners definitely have a hole they need to fill at wide receiver. Currently, you only have one commit at this position here in the 26 class. You've missed out on a couple others. So today we got to talk about where Oklahoma could potentially be going at this position, who's still on the board, and are there any targets that Oklahoma could go out there and offer, or could maybe circle back around to during the beginning of the season. Before we jump into it, though, I want to hear from you all. So join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think so far about the 26 class. I mean, obviously, I've heard a lot about how Oklahoma should be landing certain guys. We shouldn't be losing it, but I want to hear who probably is your favorite commit so far, and ultimately where you think this class is going to end up landing, because I did some rough numbers earlier, and I definitely think Oklahoma still has a chance at a top 5 class. Now, I think a lot of that really does depend on guys being able to move up in the rankings, obviously not moving down. And Oklahoma pretty much needs to hit every single one of their targets that they're currently going after. Now, if that happens, this could ultimately end up being Oklahoma's best class under Brent Venables. The likelihoods of it, though, is I think that we see Oklahoma in the top 10 class range. So the question is, after Oklahoma had the bad string of runs last week, where did they go at the wide receiver position now? Because if you remember, you saw Jaden Pettit commit to Wisconsin, which completely came out of the blue because it felt like it was an Oklahoma-Missouri battle. Obviously, Wisconsin was in there. They'd got him back on campus, but a lot of people did not suspect Wisconsin to be this team you had to watch in that recruitment. Additionally, you look at Craig Dandridge, where Oklahoma, again, fell in his final 2, but he ended up committing to the University of Georgia. Now, it makes a lot of sense. The kid's from Georgia. Georgia had lost another wide receiver prior to that commitment, so this one was really important to the Georgia Bulldogs. But that hurts because those were 2 really elite wide receivers, Jaden Pettit being 6'4". And so the question is, where does Oklahoma go now? You've only got Daniel Odom committed in this class, and you would imagine teams are going to leverage that to potentially try to flip him. But at the same time, after what happened to you last year, you definitely don't want to be lacking with talent at this position. Now, Oklahoma feels good about some of the guys they currently have on the team, guys that could be returning eligibility-wise. So they could be leaning into that a little bit more, but also understanding that there's guys that are going to be able to leave early to the NFL draft. And, once Emmett Jones starts getting guys drafted at this position, it's going to kind of, I think, start working like birthday cake for Oklahoma, right? You're going to get a lot of people wanting a slice there. So there's 2 targets primarily on Oklahoma's board that we've talked about quite a bit. And these are probably the 2 biggest targets at the wide receiver position, and the 2 you probably must land. It's going to be Jordan Clay and Davian Gross. Now, we've talked a lot about Davian Gross. I've told you guys how much I really love where Oklahoma positioned themselves in that recruitment. It feels right now like it's a Baylor-Oklahoma battle. Interesting thing enough, Oklahoma had Ryder Mix currently committed in this class, the 4-star tight end who is teammates with Davian Gross out at Frisco. But you also have Jordan Deck, who is now committed to the Baylor Bears, a 4-star safety who is a teammate of Davian Gross. So he's going to have a couple different guys pulling him every which way, as long with the respective coaches and schools. You've got Houston, and you've got Texas A&M and Florida in the mix for him as well. I would say Houston's probably third. I don't think Florida and A&M are as big of threats as I think a lot of people want to make it out to be. Houston's got a 5-star quarterback to go out there and really try to recruit for them. But this is probably a must-win for Oklahoma. Davian Gross is an extremely athletic athlete. He's kind of a freak. I told you, like a Swiss Army knife can be used as a wide receiver or a running back. So interesting to see how Oklahoma could use him there. But again, must win for Oklahoma, along with Jordan Clay. Now, Jordan Clay is at 6'3", 200 pounds. And interestingly enough, is another Oklahoma-Baylor battle. So Davian Gross, Oklahoma-Baylor, Jordan Clay, Oklahoma-Baylor. Now, he took an official visit to Oklahoma on June 20th. I think the staff and a lot of people that, follow Oklahoma football recruiting, they feel good where Oklahoma currently sits for Jordan Clay, but Baylor is being the constant here. And, if Baylor loses out on Davian Gross, they're probably going to go all in on Jordan Clay. So Oklahoma, like I said, these are two very important recruitments for Oklahoma. They need to be ready to pony up on the money side of things. Now, Jordan Clay did announce that he is ready to make his decision. He will be announcing that on July 11th. It's going to come down between Colorado and Baylor and Oklahoma. So, like I said, Oklahoma Baylor battle, Colorado, an outsider looking in, kind of like I think you have to treat this the way you should have probably treated Pettit. You knew what Wisconsin was available in there. You need to take Colorado as a potential threat just so that they don't come and steal him from underneath your noses. Don't think it'll happen, but you just want to be prepared. Jordan Clay's a phenomenal wide receiver, guys. Great frame, high productive wide receiver in the state of Texas. This could be a guy that could be a big time weapon for Bo Bentley. We've seen Bo Bentley out there actively recruiting Davian Gross and Jordan Clay. Jordan Clay is currently the 111th ranked player in the 247 composite ranking. So these would be two massive additions for Oklahoma. And quite frankly, if you get these two, you might not need to take another wide receiver. They probably will, though. They'll probably go around and search for somebody. If you're asking who that might be, there are a couple of different targets. Obviously, I think Oklahoma could potentially circle back around with a couple of different prospects during the season to try to get them on campus, try to show them, hey, like, listen, like we went at a really high level. If you're doing that, and you could look at a guy like a Deshaun Spencer, who's a 4-star wide receiver. I think a lot of people are favoring Duke right now in that recruitment. Or a Jaron Pula, a 4-star wide receiver out of Utah, who I think is probably going to end up at Utah right now. Those are a couple people. If you're looking at another uncommitted prospect, Jaden Warren is one of those guys, a 4-star wide receiver at 6'2", 192 pounds out of the state of Texas, and I believe Iowa Colony would be a phenomenal prospect if Emma Jones wanted to circle back around on him. Marcus Adam Carter is an unranked prospect, but great frame at 6'3", 190 pounds. You go watch his film. Obviously, I think there's a lot of upside with that kid. So, Oklahoma gets him in there. He's probably a project, not playing right away. But, if Oklahoma wanted to get another body in there, I think could certainly go after him as well. And if you're Jim Nagy and the staff, I think with wide receiver, one of the things you're looking for is size and probably speed as well, which all of these guys have. You can, of course, circle back around with Aljor Miles or any of those guys that are currently committed in the regular season. But this is definitely becoming pretty crucial for Oklahoma at this position. I do think they land at least one of the two. Two of the two is on the table and a possibility, but Oklahoma's got to be ready to shell out the money because it's going to happen. Now, July 1st might change a lot of things, but we'll just have to kind of see how that changes the landscape of college football recruiting. So I want to hear from y'all because I think this is a really interesting topic, and I think we could dive a lot deeper into some other positions, specifically defensive line. You're hearing a lot of really good buzz there. So maybe we'll talk about that here in the coming days, but join the discussion, jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and hit that subscribe button.